Good evening, everyone. Stefan Albertini sends his regrets he couldn't be here tonight, but he will be here next time on April 1st when my guest is Federico Lombardi. I think you all know me, and those of you watching elsewhere know me. I'm Fred Plotkin. This is Adventures in Italian Opera, and you don't have to be an Italian to sing Italian opera, as evidenced tonight by my guest. I want to tell you something about René Pape. You know that I've worked in opera since 1972 when I was 16, and I've heard every artist. I've worked with many of them. Those of us who work in opera have our favorites, even if we don't say this publicly all the time. And on my very short list of absolutely favorite artists of all is René Pape. And I've always wanted him to come. I mean that. People know me, I don't say things I don't mean, and I really do mean that. And I'm honored that you're here, and I thank you, and we're just going to start a conversation. So welcome, everyone. And by the way, you should see the other guy. I'll be fine in a week. So Isaac, would you please play number 1? Julian is at the opera tonight, by the way. He's fine. So,
unfortunately, it's not translated in Italian.
that's all right. So, René Pape currently is appearing as Rocco in Fidelio at the Metropolitan Opera, and I always thank the Met because it's because of the Met that René is here tonight. And I'm trying to think where to start. If I were to ask myself, what question would I ask the man that I consider one of the greatest singers I've ever seen? Here's the question. Is there anything that all your characters have in common, at least the way you present them or approach them?
Yeah. It's me.
Okay.
That brings everybody, all the characters I'm playing, I'm singing together.
Mm-hmm.
So as you know, all of you, thanks for the invitation. Your short list must be a long list, I guess.
10.
And it's great as a base to be in the basement of Italian culture, or the foundation of Italian culture in New York. So to answer your question, yeah, all these different characters I'm playing, I'm singing, they come together in myself, with me. So it doesn't mean I would be a good king, doesn't mean I would be a good jailer, doesn't mean I would be a good servant in person, but on stage I try my best in different languages, in different composing styles, and the rest is up to my audience or to you to like it or to not like it. I hope you like it a little bit.
If I were to ask that question of myself about René Pape, my answer would be that I can't think of any singer, maybe one, Leonie Rieseneck, who was able to bring so much humanity to every single role that they played. And at the core of every René Pape portrayal for me, and not just for me, is an immense humanity and an understanding of the human element of the character. So that may be, I want to ask René, whether that comes from the music first, from the words, from the production. But your Rocco is in Fidelio, who's a jailer, is the most humane jailer that you'd ever meet. If I were in jail, I would want this man to be my jailer. If I were Don Giovanni, I would want this man to be my Leporello, and so on and so on and so on. And even characters who are not necessarily good people, like, let's say, King Philip in Don Carlo, when played by René Pape, is so full of the complexity of the character. And do you have a particular method? How do you approach building a particular characterization that you make of any role that you want to talk about?
It's a not easy story. I mean, I started very young in my life with my professional career. So I have done a lot of productions, and you always learn with any of these productions. You learn about the character, you learn about the music, the poetry, the text. And when I finished my studies, so my first productions in Berlin, where I belong to the State Opera since then, of course I was a beginner, and I had to learn step by step how to interpret roles. So you start with very small roles like Night Watchman in Meistersinger or Don Fernando in Fidelio. So these are short short roles with not a big meaning in their characters, but you watch your colleagues and you listen to the music, and then you see how they interpret parts and how they interpret characters and roles. You listen to a lot of recordings, and step by step you learn from them how to interpret. And you also learn how to not interpret things, so that you have also negative experiences. And so this is a long process, which took me a while to be able to have my own views of these parts, which are not very different to other views. And if you have a good production, if you have a great stage director, directress, whatever, so you learn from them, and they can really guide you through the history, they can guide you through this character. And I was lucky enough to have a lot of great stage directors in my younger life. Now we have others. And and I could learn a lot, and they taught me a lot, and I was, for that reason, I was a good student. For other reasons, I wasn't. So that how I learned things. So, and also, which is a big part, the experience of your own life. Of course, I told you earlier, there's this a phrase called, it's good to be the king. I tell you, it's not good to be the king. So, and anyway, so in private life, I couldn't be a king, I couldn't be a jailer, whatever. But we are also actors, so that means we are playing these characters. We are not the characters, we are playing them. As an actor, you see on the play theater or on movies. So we're acting, most of us, we are able to act, some they are not, but we are not talking about them. And so that makes us like being able to have a very serious theme, but playing this serious theme, which it's very interesting. And then you have different productions after the years. That means the character actually didn't change, but the way to build that character, to play that character, it's always different. It's always another way, another step, and you always learn from one production to the other, and you take the good things with you and bring it in the new production. So that's my way.
So one of the roles that you're most famous for, among many, is Sarastro, who is the good guy in Mozart's Die Zauberflöte, the Magic Flute, although he may not seem to be the good guy. It was, for many people, myself included, one of the first operas that we learned. And his music is incredibly low, deep, and the Queen of the Night's music, which is only 12 minutes, but it's very, very high. And sometimes a child will come out of that and think, boy, the Queen of the Night, that's the best character in the opera. But then you come to learn that the wisdom and the knowledge and the tolerance and the patience resides in Sarastro. But that takes a lot of learning. So about Sarastro, and by the way, Isaac, please set up number 3, and then we'll later go to number 2. Number 3 first. Sarastro is, well, you describe him rather than me describe him. What is his story?
Yeah, that's a good example. I sang my first Sarastro in the age of 27, so I was far away from any experiences. So, and what I mentioned earlier, I had to play that guy, that man, with all his experiences. And with the help of a good stage director, in that case, Johannes Schaaf, German director, he was able to give me all these ideas to be in the age of 27, Sarastro, with all this wisdom he has. And I took a lot of what he told me, what he taught me for all the next productions I have done as Sarastro, and there are many of them. So this Sarastro is, of course, everybody thinks he's the good guy, yes, but there is a big no as well. He's a good guy, but okay, for the time of Mozart and Da Ponte, not Da Ponte, Scicanero was another description of what is good and what is not good, what is bad, and especially also the connection from Mozart and Scicanero with the Masons,
yeah.
Masons, sorry, which plays a big part in that opera, in the libretto of that opera, and in the character of Sarastro as well. So, but let's say in the end, humanity is winning everything, and Sarastro, he also goes through a kind of education for himself. In the end, he brings everybody together so far, and he's like the minister in Fidelio, saying, yeah, okay, great, fantastic, everybody is healed, everybody is everybody's friend. So, and love, actually, the big love is the winner of everything. And this is still the big meaning of many operas, that love should win everything in the end. So, and that's what brings us also always on stage to show with the music and with what we have to play, that love is what brings us always together. And for Magic Flute, for the character of Sarastro, he is learning a little bit as well for himself. So, and first he is playing Tamino, then he's in his circle of men, just men, and then he's talking after a while to Pamina with this second aria, and start to show a little bit of humanity as well. And this little way he is going is great for us singers to show step by step in a good production, if it's possible.
So I didn't think that we'd go directly toward the ring cycle because that was not in my plan, but when I teach the ring cycle or work on the ring cycle, one of the themes that I always bring out is the concept that there is Wotan and Albrecht and others who are seeking power, and then there are characters who speak from the point of view of love. And in my perspective, at least on the ring cycle, when you hear after 17 hours, the last music is Sieglinde's love melody, that ultimately love has triumphed over power. And when you have worked on the ring, does that subject come up in productions, or how does that inform your approach to the ring?
I have to say I never did the complete ring.
Right.
So
You did Hunding.
I started with Fasold and Rheingold
Yeah.
and Hunding in Walküre. Much later I sang Wotan in Rheingold and Wotan in Walküre. I never did the Wanderer in Siegfried. So for me, I don't have these huge ring experiences, I have to say. So the first production I have done with Fasold and Hunding was the Otto Schenk production here in New York at the Met. So then later I did some other Rheingold and Walküre productions. But to my, a really bad experience was the production I have done with the Netherlands team, whatever, we did Rheingold. They did the whole ring cycle. We did it in Berlin at the State Opera House and in Milano, La Scala Milano. And it was a very bad experience for me because it was my first time singing Wotan. And this team of whatever they called themselves didn't give me any idea about this character of Wotan. So I was kind of struggling in that production. First as Wotan in Rheingold and second as Wotan in Die Walküre. So I cannot say anything about Wotan's real character, and of course I have read a lot about this, but any of us has done that, or many of us. So my experiences with the ring is not the best, I can say.
But let me talk
except
to you.
the giant Fasold.
Yes, I was
I
gonna
really
say,
loved
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So, and the Hunding, which is really a bad guy, and he's not changing his behavior
Right.
of staying bad. So,
But Fasold and Fafner are the giants. And in Das Rheingold, they're the ones who build Valhalla and the Rainbow Bridge and all of that. And they expect to be paid, and they're to be paid with the Rheingold, so that Wotan goes down to the Nibelheim and steals the gold with the help of Loge the lawyer, and brings the gold up to the surface and pays the giants, Fafner and Fasold. But long story, there's Freya, who is the goddess of youth, and she has a lot of apples, and her apples keep everyone young. And Fasold falls in love with Freya. Fafner, his brother, wants the money. So Wagner has already, at the very beginning of the cycle, teased out the concept of there's love and there's power. Power being the ring, being money, and so forth. And I remember very well how tender your particular Fasold was. He was a giant, much bigger than René is. It's with a lot of costuming. And yet, this was a boy in love. And did you experience that in the production?
right, that was, I remember
Yeah.
it was in Bayreuth, a ring cycle. Yes, I fell in love with the young Nina Stemme.
Oh, well.
As Freya.
Oh, my God.
So we both were very young, so later we were Marke and Isolde and other things. The music taught, for my experience in the ring cycle, yes, Fasold was is a guy in love who he is really stupid, and all of them are really stupid. So, but he was the nice guy who believed in humanity, actually, building Valhalla, believing in love. But in the end, his brother, who believes in money and power, killed him.
Yep.
And killed the love, actually, in that scene. But the ring is going on, but in a different way. But this relationship between these two brothers shows also what you mentioned, the relationship between love and power, money. So, and yeah, if you listen really close to that music, to this text, you learn a lot about what is really important in life. So, and I was very young doing that, so as Fasold, I did a few productions, not so many, but a few, and I always got killed, but I'm here, so love in the end has win. So.
And if you wonder what happens to Fafnir, he goes to the Eastern Kingdom, he takes the gold of the ring with him, and he transforms himself into a dragon, and he sleeps for a long time, many, many years. And then Siegfried is born, and when he's 18 years old, he comes and stabs Fafnir, takes the gold, and it should be happy, but of course it's not at the end. Isaac, would you please play number 3, which is from Die Zauberflöte, Sarastro? It'll be right here. And Isaac, please set up number 2. No rush, but set up number 2. So this was a recent performance in your hometown of Dresden from 4 years ago now. You have been in so many productions of Die Zauberflöte. I've seen you in Berlin and New York and other places, Vienna, I think. Is there one production of this opera that comes closest to your conception of what this is about?
As you said, I have done many of different productions for the Zauberflöte. Of course, the first one I remember was the one with Johannes Scharf in 1991 in Salzburg, conducting by George Scholti, and so this will always stay in my mind, in my heart, in my brain, because I have done it the first time with such great colleagues and Maestro Scholti, which was a life experience for me. And I was, as I told you, very young. So, and I think this production was very good because it was not like, okay, guys, here we are. I, the stage director, will teach you about humanity. It's Mr. Schaaf, the director. He really took the score, the libretto, and he did a kind of fairy tale out of it, which I actually like. We are playing theater. We are not here to mirror the real life. The real life is hard enough, so we are a circus as well. So we playing, we entertaining our audiences. Not, I mean, sometimes it's good to have a little sign to say, okay, listen, this is very important. But all the librettis, all the musics, they are for themselves. They stay for themselves, for my opinion, and we don't have to teach anybody because the music and the text teaches us without any. Here we go. Here I show you what is important, what not. And in these days, as you know, we have all these directors, stage directors, and directrices. They want to teach the audience, and I think this is not the right way, because the music and the text is teaching us enough, and we don't have to put any extras in it. So we are not at school in a theater. We are there to enjoy the music and to enjoy a story, even if it's a weird story. In many operas, somebody is dying, mostly the soprano, and which is okay with me. And yeah, so it's like going in the theater and a play. If you don't want, I mean, it's my own opinion, but. Therefore, I like when I do a magic flute, I like to, when I would sit in the audience, I would like to be taken in another world, in a world of imagination and things like this. And in these days, yeah, it's not so easy to feel that feeling. But we artists, we are hired, and so then every theater is happy to have this singer and that singer, blah blah, and then later on they hire the stage director, and we are not able to get out of the contract. So we also have to live our lives and to earn money. So then you cannot say, okay, I don't want to work with that stage director because of that. So no, you have the signed contract, and then there you are. So good thing is when you are able during the rehearsal period to become a team with the directing team in these days, and so if you are happy, they are listening to you and to your experiences you have had. But if they are more visual artists than theater artists, they don't listen to you because they don't have any idea. And they follow their own visions of pictures, and they don't know the music, they don't know the text, but they are famous enough to follow their visions. And the theaters, they say, yes, thank you very much, oh, you are a great artist, blah, blah, blah. But the 100 people they are surround that, they're behind that production, nobody is asking them what they feel. So, and then they are the audiences, they go in the theater, most of them they are booing, paying a lot of money, going home and saying, why that? What for? And think about what we are thinking, doing that every night, playing for you what you don't want to play. So it's not easy. But in the end of the day, the music counts, and this is why we're there, always.
So Renee, a number of years ago, in that chair sat Renata Scotto. And she was a person of very strong opinions, and she was a wonderful singer and a wonderful actress. And I said to her, what did you learn from stage directors? And she quickly said, I learned nothing from stage directors. Everything I learned from conductors. And you were talking about stage directors and conductors, and I think that you can learn from a conductor, from a stage director, from a scholar, from a colleague, from another singer. And clearly, you've had stage directors who have been influential in your life. But I do want to ask you, since you started with Sir George Solti, he was someone who would sit down at the piano with singers and work through a role. Not many conductors do this anymore. Antonio Pappano does it, a few do it, but it's the exception. Did you have the opportunity to sit down with Solti?
Yeah.
Talk about that, please.
My remembrance, it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
He has this unique behavior. He was always going close to you, touching your chins, and yeah, you will be the greatest Sarastro in Salzburg history, René. And
That was a perfect impression, by the way, of George Solti.
yeah, he had this unique voice.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't a voice; it was something. But anyhow, and he walked with us, all of us singers. Doesn't matter, it was a concert, Mozart Requiem, or Magic Flute, or Fidelio. And he was sitting with us and walking bar for bar on an interpretation. So, and he was always with us and telling us he thinks that line has to be like this, and you can take a breath here. You don't have to show us how much breath you have. There's a comma, take a breath, easy. So, and I had worked with so many conductors, different conductors, with their different views and different styles, that I cannot say this one is great and that one is semi-great. You take from also from the staging. I said earlier, you take the best out of all of these fantastic genius conductors, and you build your own thing for the next production. So and then you remember what Solti said, what Levine has said, what Barenboim said, what Mehta, Marcel. You can make a long list, and all of them great in their own technique, but they want to tell you, okay, we are here to make music. And then the one said, okay, this phrase has to be this, like this, and the other said the same phrase, no, it has to be like this. And then in the end, you have a lot of experiences. You could write a library, a book filling libraries, or more books about different views of conductors. But in the end, we are doing music. One is faster, the other one is a little bit slower. But in the end, all of these conductors have taken us into another music world. And we singers, all my colleagues I have met, most of us, we are happy to have these experiences, still having these experiences. So we learned a lot from these old maestri, and and growing up in that world, as I said, I started with my professional life. I started with 23, but all these maestri I met quite soon after that. So I had a long life by getting experiences with them, and now I'm 60, so I'm still having these ideas in me, with me from those older maestri, and can bring them to the stage in these days. So with other maestri or whatever. So, and it's not easy. The younger conductors, they also have their ideas, and if they are great and listen to us, so we can also say, listen, I had this experience with that and that and that and that. And some, they say, that sounds interesting. And some others, they say, no, but now it's me, and forget Levine, forget Scholti, forget all of them. It's me now. And they say, I'm sorry, but you are nothing.
Now, before we go to some of your Italian roles, it occurred to me...
That's why we're here, no?
Yeah, we are here for that, too. It occurred to me that last night I saw you again as a wonderful Rocco in Fidelio, which I encourage you all to see. It has 4 more performances at the Met through March 15th. It will be live in HD on March 15th. You were in this production when it was new, and it had Carita Mattila, and Ben Heppner, and I believe, and Levine conducted, and you played Rocco, but you were a much younger Rocco than you are now. Your costume is the same, the glasses are the same.
The costume changed a little bit, because I have changed
a little, but it's basically it's the vibe, let's say, of the man that you played. It's 25 years, maybe, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I remember 25 years ago, the other person I would have up here right now after René Pape would be Carita Mattila. So Carita, when you're watching, she was supposed to come a number of years ago, but had to cancel. The two of you together 25 years ago was so thrilling to me. I went to all the performances, and the whole cast was great. The production was modern but intelligent. I had a couple of issues with it, but that doesn't matter. When you watch a production, you get ideas and you see what the directors and the performers think, and that's good. But your performance last night, equally wonderful but very different, because perhaps, you tell me why, you're older, your relationship to your daughter Marcelina is different. It was a different singer playing Marcelina. Perhaps your life experience is such that your approach to the role of Rocco has changed. Do you feel that your Rocco of now in this production is related to your Rocco of 25 years ago in the same production?
It is related, yes, but of course I'm now in the age of the character.
Yeah.
25 years ago I was going to the age of the character. And yes, all of what you mentioned, all of it together, the life experiences, the experiences with the music, with colleagues, with conductors, with different productions I have done. So, but coming back after 25 years to the same production is very interesting, because of course I'm the only one who is there from the original, and it's fantastic to see. I started to, when we had the rehearsals, I started to remember, I have done, I did that, oh wow, why I did that. So, because they told me to do it, and I never did a revival of that production. The production was in Europe and in Chicago and in other cities, but I never did a revival, so that was the first time now, or that is the first time now, and I think to come back to that production after all these years gives me even more sense to do it. So why I have done this 25 years ago. When you are younger than Leonore, then you might get a problem, but now I'm older than Leonore, so I am the father of Marcelina. I could be just the stepfather of Giacchino or whatever. So, and the father-in-law of Leonore. So, and all this, what happened in the last 25 years in my private life, now I can bring also into that story, which is not my life, but you feel different because the age is there now, and the music hasn't changed. Luckily, and so, but we have changed. So the people on stage, we have changed. So and this is also a great thing, which makes a difference between a singer and an actor. As a singer, you as a bass singer, let's say that you could sing a role your lifelong. As an actor, you don't play Hamlet in 50 different productions. You do it maybe twice or 3 times. So that means we are growing as well with these roles we are singing, which is actually, I'm fortunate for that. I'm happy to do that, to be able to do that.
I know I've encouraged you to go see it, but really go see it. It's beyond wonderful, and I'm happy that I'll be going again. Isaac, please play number 2 now. We're going to go finally to Italy. I was happy where we were, don't worry.
Signor padrone, ora incomincio a capire il mistero e a vedere schietto tutto il vostro progetto. A Londra è vero, voi ministro, io carriera e la Susanna. Segreta ambasciatrice non sarà, Figaro il dice. Se vuol ballare, signor Contino, se vuol ballare, signor Contino, il chitarrino le suonerò. Il chitarrino le suonerò, sì, le suonerò, sì, le suonerò. Se vuol venire nella mia scuola, la capriola le insegnerò. Se vuol venire nella mia scuola, la capriola le insegnerò, sì, le insegnerò, sì, le insegnerò. Saprò, 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 ma piano, 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 piano. Meglio ogni arcano dissimulando scoprir potrò. L'arte schermendo, l'arte adoprando, tipo concetto, gira schiacciando, tutte le macchine rovescerò, rovescerò. L'arte schermendo, l'arte adoprando, tipo concetto, gira scherzando, tutte le macchine rovescerò, tutte le macchine rovescerò, tutte le macchine rovescerò, rovescerò, rovescerò. Se vuol ballare, signor Contino, se vuol ballare, signor Contino, il chitarrino le suonerò. Il chitarrino le suonerò, sì, le suonerò, sì, le suonerò.
So Isaac, please set up number 5. That was a very young René Pape. Did you recognize the voice from 1999?
Yeah, of course.
So
I remember this production. quite
talk
well.
about it and what you would have learned as a young artist at that point. And someone answer your phone, please, elsewhere. Thank you.
Don't pretend it's not you. Yeah, when you are young, you're not thinking so much about the character. Of course, I knew the story and everything, and I haven't done so many Figaro productions. when I started in 1988, I did in 1989, I guess, I did one production in Dresden. I mean, an old production. I was another Figaro, and one in Berlin, and both in German languages. So this was one of my first Figaro in Italian language, and I didn't understand anything, but I knew what I'm singing because I have done it before in German. So it was a great experience. It was not an easy production, but it was Daniel Barnbaum conducting one of his few Mozarts he did. And it was a great experience, I have to say. And I was young and sportive and a little bit lighter, I think. And so everything was action. So in that age, you like to be active. So, and I liked it to jump and to whatever, to run and to fight and everything. So this was a great experience.
Ferruccio Furlanetto was once talking to me about this role and other Mozart roles, and he said to me, it's not the voice, it's the knees that is the challenge. I was going to ask you something that you alluded to. We played from Zauberflöte in German, and now we played it in Italian. Both Mozart. You just said that you sang this role of Figaro in German as well. Is Mozart singing the same no matter the language, or is it different depending on the language?
If you do the piece like Figaro, the music, of course, as any other opera, is the same. When you do it in your own language, which is not, in that case, not the original language, of course you understand every single thing and every single comma and every single dot and that helps a little bit when you change then to do it in Italian or in the original language. So, but of course, technical singing, while in the singing technique aspect, you do things different when you sing it in original language than in your own tongue, but it's the same thing. A different or more difficult question would be: have you sang Sarastro in Italian language? Mm-hmm. No, I haven't. And this would be a big change for me as well, to sing this kind of slow music in Italian language. So maybe once I will do that, but there's no question yet about me doing that. So in the old days, they have maybe done it, but I don't have any recording of Magic Flute in the Italian language, but doesn't matter. The music stays for itself, and for me, Figaro was a step into other roles, into Verdi, into Wagner. And of course, when you are young, you're singing this. I sang Figaro, I sang Leporello, I sang, of course, young Don Alfonso in Così fan tutte. Mm-hmm. This was interesting because we also did my first Così fan tutte in Berlin. Actually, the only one I did was in German language. Then the wall came down, and we did all the musical numbers in Italian language and the recitativi in German to tell the story. And then later, the same production, we did everything in Italian language. So I had one production in 3 different versions, which was okay. Then in the end, I understood everything, what I had to play. Mm-hmm. And so, therefore, I did a lot of Leporello productions. I did one production as Don Giovanni, which was nice too, just once to try out this baritone part, and I succeed so far, I guess. But there's no recording, thank God. So that was a little tour out of my bass repertoire to do, like, of course, Don Giovanni could be bass baritone as well, like Furlanetto, Ferruccio, he did both as well. So I did both. 3 actually. I did also Mazzetto when I was young. So therefore, no change.
I have in front of me a list of everything you've sung at the Met, and I'll give this to you after for your records if you want them.
1 page?
No, hardly. I ran out of paper, my machine. No, you've done more than 200 performances at the Met. I think it was 227 last time I counted, or 228,
Wow.
including tours to Japan and Spain. By the way, your debut with the Met was actually not in New York.
No.
It was in Seville, Spain, in a production of Fidelio, where Fidelio takes place, actually.
In Sevilla.
In Sevilla, because it was the World's Fair in Seville in June 1st of 1992. And then you came to the Met as a speaker, another role in Die Zauberflöte a few years later. But what I want to talk to you about is actually the opera Don Giovanni. The Met did a production in 2004, and the stage director was Martha Keller. And Martha's a good friend of mine. We met a couple of years before that on a train coming from Washington to New York. I'm not shy. And there was beautiful, talented Martha Keller sitting opposite me. So I changed seats and spoke to Martha. And by the time we got to New York, we were friends. And she was then asked to do this production. Someone else was supposed to direct it. And the scenery had already been built, and the costumes designed and built and so on. So therefore, she had to step in and, in effect, do the theater part. Don Giovanni is maybe the hardest opera of all to direct. It's certainly one of them. And there was an excellent cast of Thomas Hampson, Don Giovanni. Anya Harteros was a wonderful Donna Anna, Christine Gerke, Don Elvira, Leporello, René Pape, Hae-kyung Hong, Ildar Abdrazakov making his debut as Mazzetto, Philip Enns as the commendatore, and James Levine conducting, with Martha Keller directing in existing scenery. Now, what was particular about the scenery, and I remember it well, if you know the restaurant Fiorello, which is opposite Lincoln Center, they used to have paper and crayons, and Martha and I would go there late at night and take the paper and the crayons and draw the sets and move the characters and so on. And it was a strange set. It was not an ugly set, in that there was one side there, and a big gap in the middle, very large gap. And sometimes when Giovanni would be here, Thomas Hampson with Anna, Leporello would be all the way over there. And it was a little hard, in my view, to have the characters interact. And Martha made it work, but it was a very big challenge. But this was the first time I saw you play Leporello. And it was really wonderful. I'll leave it at that. But I'd love to know your remembrance of that, working on that production, where the scenery, unfortunately, was a given, and you had to create theater within that big space.
What a question. Actually, what you know, I didn't. Of course, I knew that she is taking over from somebody else, but she was taking over somebody else's production. But for us, it's not important, or it's not important. The set was done for somebody else or not. The set was there. We started to rehearse, and Martha was there to direct the opera. So it could have been somebody else, which I haven't met before. So Martha was great. She was amazing. Her way of being, her kindness, but also very strict and forwarded. And so we had a fantastic time all together. And my experience in that time as Leporello, I did a few productions before, but not so many. So of course, Tom Hampson with his Don Giovanni experiences was fantastic, and we all together, it was just great. And then Martha and I, it's not that we became friends like you and her, but I visited her then later in Verbier and in Switzerland. So, and then later, the biggest thing actually in that production for me was the end of the dress rehearsal. We went, many singers, we went down to the cantina and taking a coffee or some water, and there was a little guy standing in front of me for the the cashier, and saying, "René, fantastic! You are a great actor." And I looked down to him. You had a beard, and thank you. Yeah, my name is Al Pacino. So, and then I figured out that Marta and Al Pacino, they had a little whatever.
Bobby Deerfield. If you saw Bobby Deerfield, that's where they met. Yeah.
And so I was it was a big compliment from this man. René, you are a great actor. So what else could happen to you in the cantina of the Met? So then Al Pacino tells you you're a great actor. So I took that very personally and stayed with that.
True story. I had not intended to tell this. It does not relate to René Pape, but it's a great story. In the 1980s, Placido Domingo was singing Lohengrin at the Met. And he one night purchased a box to invite friends of his, and he asked me to make sure his friends were okay. And the friends were Al Pacino, Woody Allen, Mia Farrow, then his partner, Susan Strasberg, Lee Strasberg's daughter, the great acting teacher, and her friend Sophia Loren. And I was the manager. I could decide what I would do, and I decided I'm responsible for Sophia Loren tonight, and my assistant can take care of the others. And Sophia said to me, "How long is Lohengrin?" It was about 5 hours. It was great. 5 hours, I can't do that. And so I took Sophia out. We took her down to the cantina, the Met cafeteria on B level, and I found eggplant and tomatoes and pasta and mozzarella, and Sophia and I cooked, and I told her the story of Lohengrin as we listened in the music. And afterwards, I had to get Al Pacino and Woody Allen and everybody else. And Al Pacino was transfixed by the whole thing. And he said, "Oh, Sophia, you don't know what you missed." And she said, "Alfonso, you don't know what you missed. I cook with Fred Plotkin." And we went backstage, and great actress that she was, "Oh, Placido, you were magnificent. I've never seen something like this." And, "Oh, thank you, Sophia." And it was my favorite night at the Metropolitan Opera. But anyway, Al Pacino completely got into the theatrical aspect of that performance of Lohengrin. Ava Martone, Leonie Rieseneck, who's with good reason. So, Isaac, please play now number 5, which is a semi-stage version of Don Giovanni by Martha Keller that was done at the Verbier Festival. So it's not the production I spoke of, but 5 years later.
Bocconi da gigante, li fa proprio di sedil, li fa proprio di sedil. vedere i miei bocconi, mi par proprio di svenir, mi par proprio di svenir. Ah, che barbaro appetito, che bocconi da gigante, nel vedere i miei bocconi, mi par proprio di svenir. Ah, che barbaro appetito, par proprio di svenir, che bocconi da gigante, proprio di svenir, mi par proprio di svenir, mi par proprio di svenir. Piatto, servo. E i giganti per Sallino. Eccellente Marzimino. Questo pezzo ti fa giano, piano vuoi piacer. Sta mangiando quel marrano, fingerò di non capir. Questa poi la conosco purtroppo, belle, trovando il riposo. E Porello, parla schietto mascalzone. Mentre io mangio, fischia un poco. Cos'è? Scusate. Si è eccellente il vostro cuore. Si è eccellente il vostro cuore. E lo voglio anch'io provare. E lo voglio anch'io provare. Si è eccellente il cuore mio, eccellente voglio che lo provare. Se non sorgete, non ne resta in piedi, non ne resta in piedi. Asino mio te ridere, asino te ridere, i cieli con me, che voglio bene. Che grido, che grido, che grido, questo mai. mio cielo, che un manco, se sedeste che figura, se mi diste come fa. Non mi fate scoprire. Tu sei una se cite, batte. Matto, per togliermi l'intrigo, ad aprire io stesso no, io stesso. Per togliermi l'intrigo, ad aprire nascondere.
Okay. So Isaac, please, when you have a moment, set up number 4, which is Maramina. I wanted you to see that in part because it doesn't quite communicate what the Met production was because it was done on a stage. This in Verbier is sort of a tent. It's not a traditional theater, but it's a wonderful environment for opera and all kinds of music, and there are a lot of lessons going on. Did they have you teach while you were there?
Teach what?
Teach other singers, or
Me?
were you teaching other
No,
people?
no.
Okay.
No.
Because sometimes they do that. I was there 3 years after this, and I was teaching. That's why I asked.
No, there were some other singers. They give master classes,
Yeah,
and
okay.
and it's most Verbier is more an orchestra academy, so you have a lot of great orchestra musicians. They give like a week of lessons and
Right.
concerts and things like this.
Right.
And there's one singer or two they give master classes as well.
The year that I was there were 3 singers, actually. There was Thomas Kwastoff, Thomas Allen, and Ilyana Kotrubash. And then me teaching, but not singers, but teaching the audience about Le Nozze di Figaro. And anyway, part of why I showed this was because it was semi-staged. It has some of the DNA of the Martha Keller production from the Met, but different. She lives in Verbier, so it was her hometown production in a way. The next selection we have is also from from Don Giovanni. But what's particular about this one, most of the video that I found of René was not in opera performance, but arias on a stage, in a concert, something like that. And the reason that I picked this one, Maramina, the catalog aria that Leporello sings about all of the conquest of Don Giovanni, that he can sing perhaps with pride, perhaps with horror, perhaps with different emotions, is that there's always a woman on the stage, Donna Elvira, to whom Leporello is singing. What I love about this particular clip that you're about to watch is there's no woman on the stage, but I get everything from that performance as if there was a woman right there that you were talking to. So Isaac, if you're ready, number 4.
The woman is in your head,
That's right.
so it doesn't have to be there physically.
Maramina, il catalogo è questo, delle belle che amo il patron mio, un catalogo che ho fatti io. Osservate, leggete con me, osservate, leggete con me. In Italia 640, in Almania 231, 100 in Francia, in Turchia 91, ma in Spagna son già 1300. 1300. Ma fra queste contadine, cameriere cittadine, van contesse baronesse, marchesane, principesse e van donne d'ogni grado, d'ogni forma, d'ogni età, d'ogni forma, d'ogni età. In Italia 640, in Almania 231, 100 in Francia, in Turchia 91, ma in Spagna compagnia son già 1.300. 1.300, ma fra queste contadine, cameriere, cittadine, ma contesse e baronesse, che sane principesse, e van donne d'ogni grado, d'ogni forma, d'ogni età, ogni forma, ogni età, ogni forma, ogni età. Nella bionda,
Non si fica se sia ricca, se sia brutta, se sia bella, se sia ricca, brutta, se sia bella, purché porti la gonnella. Voi sapete quel che fa, voi sapete quel che fa, pur che porti la gonnella. Voi sapete quel che fa, voi sapete, voi sapete quel che fa, quel che fa. Voi sapete quel che fa.
At a certain point, I heard René say under his breath, text. Talk about, is that what you said?
You know, was
Text?
a little mistake, but it's just me.
Oh, mistake. I didn't interpret it as a mistake, but the degree to which you paid attention to the text
Yeah, this is another
is what
thing.
put it across so completely that you didn't need a Don Elvira or a production or anything behind you.
It's your imagination.
Yeah.
Of course.
I'd like to now go to another Italian role, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pair two kings. One of them is a czar, and we'll look at one first, the king, and talk about him a bit, and then we'll go to the Tsar. So, Isaac, if you would set up number 7, and when you're ready, we'll play it. It's King Philip II, Zerilli-Marimò from Verdi's Don Carlo, in concert at a Met Gala. So, in other words, at the Met. But again, this is an internal monologue. There's no one else on the stage with King Philip at that moment. So it's not like he's speaking to someone else, but he might be, because he's speaking about another person, Regina Elisabetta. And this is, again, another example of René Pape performance that it's so complete unto itself. I'm going to add one more thing. I can think of no singer in opera who has more expressive eyes than René Pape. And I don't know if you do that. But I mean, they say everything, whether you're Boris, whether you're Rocco, all the range of characters, the eye, Sarastro, they're the same pair of eyes, but they're different. They speak.
Yeah, it's a part of acting.
But
It belongs to your body.
But
and,
very few opera singers do that.
It's not my
Okay.
cup of tea.
So, Isaac, please, number 7.
rivedo ancor, contempla triste il volto, il mio crin bianco e di che qui di Francia vengo. Presso a finir l'aurora bianca il mio vero già spunta il dì passar vedo i miei giorni lenti il sonno di spari dai miei occhi languenti. il serto legal, ametesse il poter di leggere nei cor ed io posso il feder. Ah, se il serto legal ametesse il poter di leggere nei cor che Dio sol può veder. Se dormente fegli al traditor il serto perde il re, il consorte l'onor. Dormiro sol nel manto mio regal, quando la mia giornata è giunta sera. Dormiro sol sotto la fontanera, dormiro sotto la fontanera, l'anella fello delle scuriai. Ah, se il serto legai ametesse il poter di leggere nei cor, e la gamba in mano. No, quel cor chiuso a me, amor, per me non ha. Amor, per me
The beginning of this aria, because you're talking earlier about my eyes, so even closed eyes can speak. No, this is a role I want to continue a little bit. This is a role I really love to do, and I did a lot of productions. In that case, I was 41 years old. I have a question to you, for you. Do you think my Italian language in that case is okay, or the interpretation is okay?
I was going to ask you about that, but I first want to ask Isaac to set up number 13, and we'll talk about your Russian.
No, let's
No, we
stop
will.
here.
What I was thinking about as I listened to this time, because I listened before, obviously, is the degree to which your following of the musical markings were very faithful, and Verdi accommodated for singers who would follow him the language through his markings, so that vowels that were meant to have a certain emotional effect, a certain haunted, reflective effect, really happened with you. They do with a couple of other singers too. Fidelio Frulletto does this beautifully. But most singers do their version. And I felt that you did Verdi's version. And therefore honored his intention, honored where the vowels happen and how they happen. Sometimes they're open, sometimes they're closed. And I was very happy with it.
Thank you. I have a reason why I'm asked this question, and you are an expert, so I take it. I have a very cruel story with that. Also knowing that you're an expert with La Scala, so I have done many productions here and there: Berlin, Munich, Vienna, New York, Paris, London. I have done a production 11 years ago at La Scala, and I was supposed to do, I will tell you this story because there are not many people here, but you have to know that, and there are a few or a lot of people watching this now, and I need to tell this story to the world, so because I didn't do it for 1.5 years. I was supposed to do the opening of the La Scala production of a new Don Carlo, 7th of December in 2023. And so we rehearsed for 2 weeks, and actually, without any arrogance, I think I'm one of the bassists who are really good, let's say that, in this role.
Yes.
Are you agree?
I
Thank
agree.
you. So, and we had our first ensemble rehearsal with, I can't tell him maestro, because for me a maestro is also a maestro in being a human. So I call this man conductor, Riccardo Chailly. And he told me after a few minutes of rehearsals, in a little room next to this rehearsal room, or a room for technicians where they change their private clothes, whatever, René, Mr. Pape, you are not good for that role. The language is bad, your interpretation is bad, you are not good for that, and you are, of course, not good for La Scala. And he threw me out. I had no rights, nothing to do. I couldn't say anything. I was shocked. At the first time in my life, I couldn't speak. And I always tell the truth, what I think at least, or what I think the truth is, but I couldn't speak. So, and in that time, Dominique Mayer, I also want to mention that name, a good friend of mine, I thought a good friend of mine. He was the general manager of La Scala, and actually a general manager, or we call it in Europe, intendant, I think has to be in front of an artist to save the artist, or in his back to help the artist. But this Dominique Mayer, who was the former intendant of Vienna State Opera and then La Scala, he disappeared. He didn't answer phone calls, he didn't answer phone calls of my agency, of myself. We were actually friends. He disappeared, he didn't answer any question. So Riccardo Chailly and Dominique Mayer, my enemies, actually, now. I don't like to say that, but I have to let it out. That was the most cruel experience in my whole musical life, to let somebody tell you you are not good for that part, which I have done for 33 years. Worldwide with all the maestri you can imagine. So I just wanted to let you know that, and maybe the audience who is watching us now. Riccardo Chailly, thank you.
I can fill in more to that. In about 1981 or 1982, when I was just starting at the Met, we did a new wonderful production of Les Contes d'Hoffmann, The Tales of Hoffmann, by Otto Schenk and Gunther Schneider-Simpson, a fantastic production. And Riccardo Chailly conducted in his Met debut. He was never invited back. That's all I can say on that topic.
But the point is, yeah, but he has damaged so many people's career. And I don't know why. I never worked with him before, so he must have like a personal problem with me, which I don't understand, which I don't know. But anyhow, here we go, and life continues, music continues. In 100 years, maybe nobody will talk about him anymore. So maybe in 10 years, maybe in 10 years.
Yeah.
So I don't want to destroy him, whatever. I just think this is our world we live. We are full of these. We have a few maestri or also directors or general managers. First, their ego comes, and then the theater, the music, the humans. So this is not good. So therefore, we fight for music, we fight for good productions, we fight for audiences. That's why we're going on stage every night and worldwide to finally ignore people who just want their own egos to be seen and felt, you know. So sometimes I'm out of words because I can't believe what happened to me and even to other colleagues the same way because of this man with his little ego. So that's very sad. And he has so many followers and he has so many people who really like him. He might be a okay conductor for symphonic music, but of course not for opera. I can say that. I have also 35 years experience, so whatever, dear Riccardo Chailly, stay away from me. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee anything.
Speaking of ego, a number of years ago I was asked would I ever consider running an opera company. I said absolutely. And they said, which one? And I said, well, I don't want to name a company, but I would call it the Ethical Grand Opera. And the person I said this to said, well, you know, Ethical Grand Opera, EGO. You cannot call it the Ethical Grand Opera, the ego. But anyway, Isaac, would you please, a true story, by the way. Isaac, would you please play number 13 for us?
Stigia vince vlasti, Šestoj už godija carstvuju spokojna, no šťastja niet moje izmučenaj duše. Na krasnom je kudjesniki suljat, ni dobijeni vlasti, niezmierznej. Ni жизнь, ni власть, ni славы одолжения, ни книги толпы меня не веселят. Счастья нет. Я думал, свой народ в довольстве и славе успокоить, щедротами любовь его снискать, но отложил пустое попечение. О, сколь безумный миг, когда народный плеск и льёрный вопль тщеславное тревожит сердце наше. Бог насылал на землю наш гад, народ завил в мучениях изливая. Я велел покрыть им житницы, я злато рассеял
прикрепья приютил. Они ж меня пожаром упрекали. Пожарные их доме истрелил, и ветра снес их халве на чушки. Я выстроили многие жилища, я решты раздалил. Я прикрепья приютил их, они ж меня пожаром упрекали. Вот черный суд. Среди своей найти отрал, готовил дочери, веселый брачный пир. Моих царев голубки чистой. Он не судил, Господь, не дал утешения, а буря смерть уносит жениха. И тут лукавая мольба, виновником дочерного вдовства, читала: Боже праведный, меня несчастного отца. Кто не умрет, я всех убийца тайный. Я отравил сестру свою царицу, я ускорил Феодора кончину, я отрака несчастного царевича Ваюшку.
So you grew up in Dresden, which was East Germany before the unification, before the wall came down. Did you learn Russian as a child?
Yeah, we were forced to learn Russian in all the eastern hemisphere, all the eastern countries. But of course, Russia was the Soviet Union at that time, was the big brother, the big communist brother. So many of us, my friends, me, we had to learn it, but we didn't want. So therefore, I didn't really took care of that. So without knowing, I will become a singer and an opera singer and a soloist and might sing in Russia, the Russian language. So at least when I study Russian music, songs or opera, I can read the Cyrillic letters, but I barely speak it. So yeah, as many others of us, we don't speak the language we sing in. So
Isaac, I'm going to ask you to set up number 14. There's a wonderful opera singer. She's well into her 90s now, named Mignon Dunn, who was on the stage a number of years ago. And Mignon is from Tennessee and has a big, broad Tennessee accent. And she sang in all languages, in French and German, Italian, and all of them English. And I asked her about what languages she loved, and she said, well, I love French, and Italian, and German is good. I sang a lot in German, and English, of course. But honey, I love that Russian. And what she loved about the Russian language were the vowels.
yeah.
Because I just had you do two monologues here, one in Italian and one in Russian, because I wanted our guest tonight to see about how a monologue works when in opera, in effect, time stands still. It's not action moving forward. And therefore, we have a different aspect of the singer, to the performance. It's meditative. And I don't speak Russian, but part of what I loved about your Boris is the way you made so rich the language, the vowels.
Thank you. That's what I'm always try. Doesn't matter what language I'm singing, to pronounce it as good as possible, as original as possible. Of course, when I sing in Russian language, Russian will say, "Oh, you can hear, this is a foreigner." So, but we are all foreigners, so whatever. And if an Italian sings German or an English guy sings Russian, you always hear little things. Or when a Russian guy sings German, you always hear things, So we are not there to be judged by who's the best, who has the best pronunciation. I think we are there to give a good interpretation, which includes the pronunciation as well. And I try, doesn't matter what language I'm singing, I try to prepare myself as good as possible. I took a lot of Russian lessons as well. I had Italian coaches, I sing in French, I had French coaches, I had Czech coaches, so I sing in many, many different languages. And as an example, I mean, if you listen to Russian singers singing their own repertoire, you have so many different ways of pronunciations. So the guy from St. Petersburg has a different pronunciation than the guy from Vladivostok or from Novosibirsk. So even they have so many differences in their own language that is for a foreigner is not so easy. So it depends on the coach. He comes from, or she comes from St. Petersburg. So you have this St. Petersburg kind of dialect. She comes from Moscow, you have a different dialect. From Novosibirsk, you have a different dialect as well. So I try, all my colleagues I know, we try to, or most of them, we try to prepare a role as original as possible. So of course you always have kind of backmasters everywhere. They are counting your mistakes and your
Meistersinger.
Backmasters, Meistersinger, and we always count the mistakes of others. So, and we say in German, so this guy is like Backmesser-esque. So, but anyhow, the point is again, the music speaks. So, and the text, of course, is part of it.
We're going to let the music speak just two more times very briefly. Number one, auf Deutsch, because there's no one I would rather hear sing this music. It's 2 minutes, so you don't have to turn the lights down, but Isaac, number 14, please.
Freundes Bräuch zu sein, wie ein holdes Weib
Setup number 15, René, anything you want to say about Beethoven?
He wrote one opera, many symphonies,
Yep.
many piano concerts. Sorry. And he was one of all these other geniuses who made our life more livable. And listen to their music and being lucky to be a part of the interpreters for this kind of music makes me in person very happy. It gives me a lot of responsibility as well, but I'm glad to be able to do that and be asked to do that as well. I grew up, I'm doing music since I'm 8 years old. I grew up in a boys' choir in my hometown, so I grew up with church music, and now I'm doing a lot of opera and songs and concerts, and what I also love, you can hear now.
That is to say, Fidelio, which you do want to go to, believe me. And finally, in opera, there are all kinds of songs of farewell. Wotan takes 15 minutes at the end of Die Walküre to sing his Abschied. There, Il faut partir hélas in French, addio, 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 addio in Italian. I have a farewell song that René Pape sings that I think you'll love. So number 15, if you please.
If ever I would leave you, it wouldn't be Scala. Seeing you in Scala, I never would go. Your hair sprinkles sunlight, your lips red as flame, your face with a luster that puts gold to shame. But if I ever leave you, it couldn't be in autumn. How I believe in autumn, I never would know. I've seen how you sparkle when fall nips the air. I know you in autumn, and I must be there. And could I leave you running merrily through the snow, or on a wintry evening when you catch the fire's glow? If ever I would leave you, how could it be in springtime, knowing how in spring I'm bewitched by your song? Oh no, but in springtime, summer winter no, never could I leave you at all.
All I can say is thank you. You made my dream come true tonight. I really, genuinely admire you. You know that, and I know what I'm talking about. So thank you, René Pape, very much. Thank you.
And thank you. It was a pleasure for me to be here and to talk to you. I hope you could understand everything. And yeah, I'm always happy to be in this city and hopefully coming back soon.
Yes.